there, it means they want to talk, right? Welcome, people who are just...
Well, the May show has always been the kind of main show, and
Hi, everybody. It also takes a little time before people can actually, in the time that they chat and you get the message. Hello, Ginny in Ohio. Good to see you. Yeah, see, so it takes like a second before they start to come in. So, but this is the best part, is when people start to arrive. It's just awesome. Say hello, please, and tell me where you're joining from. Hi, Anita in Florida. Good to see you. Yeah, very good. We're going to wait a couple of minutes because we started a little early. Good to see everybody joining. Hi, Wendy. Benny. I'm seeing some familiar names. I love to see the familiar names because that's good too. Hey, Louisville. Nancy, good to see you. Hi, Ann from a snowy PA. Oh, you must got that. You have the snow that we're going to be getting. 17 inches, they tell us we're going to get. It's crazy. Hi, Julia and May and Lisa. Michael Yurkovic, good to see you. Oh my God, they're coming up fast. I can't answer everybody all at once, but hi. We have UK on the line. Hi, Neil, or Nell, sorry, Nell. And Mark in Oklahoma, great that you can join. Hi, Mindy. More West Point. I can only chat to panelists. I can't put links to it. Hang on one second while we wait for everybody to join. I think I might have to make Donald. I can't post links to attendees. All right, I'm going to bring Donald back on because my technical support is so hang on, guys, while we wait another minute for folks to join. I don't know. I can't find him. Well. All right, well, not going to happen. Not going to happen because I can't find out how to invite Donald back on to help me with this. So with that, we do have another minute. So hang in tight, guys. Allow attendees to chat with panelists. All right. Hi, guys. If you're just joining, welcome. We have another minute. Yeah. All right. Welcome, everybody. It is 4 o'clock here on the East Coast. We're going to go ahead and start. I don't think I'm going to be able to get Donald on. Donald's my backup support, and he's been awesome. And I don't have him supporting for at least my announcements. So I'm going to go ahead and make the announcements, but afterwards I'll send everybody links in terms of what the updates are. But welcome everybody to Meet the Miniaturists on this Sunday afternoon, wherever you are joining. It's great to see you. Thank you for joining. I just wanted to let you know that I do have a Valentine's Day estate sale going on right now on my eBay site. If you're desperate to find out where, you can just hit my social media links, which will take you there. Join us for a Facebook Live Meet the Miniaturists this Wednesday. You don't have to register for that. Just show up on Facebook and join us. That's at 7 p.m. Eastern. And then next Saturday, I have Jennifer Weinman, who's also known as Duffy Weinman. She's a collector. We're going to have her on. That's a register event. So put that on your calendar for next Sunday at, I'm sorry, that's a Saturday evening, a special Saturday evening Meet the Miniaturist at 7 p.m. Eastern. That's with Duffy Weinman. But you can always check out any Meet the Miniaturists episodes They're usually posted about 24 hours later on my YouTube channel. Again, all these links you can go to my website and see all these links. And then finally, there's actually two more things. Finally, I am hosting my lecture, which is Miniatures as a Pop Culture Phenomenon, which is happening on February 7th at 4 o'clock. That's next Sunday, the Sunday, February 7th at 4 p.m. Eastern. So if you have missed that, that's just sign up for it. It's a pay-for event. People like it. They like hearing about the history of miniatures, and it's really fun event. It's for whether or not you are, a miniatures enthused, if you're totally into miniatures or if you're a newbie to miniatures, everybody walks away sort of enthused or excited about miniatures. But I look forward to all that happening, especially this Valentine's Day sale, which is ending tonight. At least this first auction. I'm going to have a series of auctions over the next several weeks that around this Valentine's Day theme. So check it out. Go pick up something yummy, and you'll see, really lovely miniatures. But with that, I do want to introduce Charlotte Stokoe, who is my special guest right now. And today for Meet the Miniaturist, Charlotte is joining us from London. Thank you for staying up late with us, Charlotte.
My pleasure.
If you don't know, Charlotte has been running the London, the London Dollhouse Festival. It's also known as the Kensington Dollhouse Festival. We should have a whole conversation about dolls versus dollhouse. But she's been running that festival for many years. And so we're going to get the insider scoop today on this whole show circuit, this whole Doll's House miniature show circuit, talk to Charlotte, talk about her inspirations, and just talk the tiny. So thank you, Charlotte, for being here. Really, really appreciate it. Welcome.
My pleasure, Darren. My pleasure.
So I think and we've spoken offline, but I think what would be wonderful for folks to hear about is I definitely want to get to the show itself, the festival itself, and how you got there. But tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into the miniatures world. I know you owned a shop at one point in London. Talk about that transition from having a shop and then moving into this other role.
Yeah, well, I've always, probably like most miniaturists, I loved dolls' houses as a child. So I was lucky enough to have one that my uncle had built, and my father made furniture for it. But it was never, you know what it's like, you want it to be perfect, you want everything to fit into place, and it was never quite right. So I was constantly trying to make it more and more perfect. And I was lucky to have an aunt who lived in London, and she lived near a shop called the Singing Tree, which anyone from London will know was a mecca for Doll's House enthusiasts. And so we used to go in there, and she also used to work in the shop in Covent Garden, which was called the Doll's House, and that was owned by Michael Morse, who opened the first ever Doll's House shop in England. I'm not sure about America. She opened it in 71, so I don't know whether there was one before that in America. Yeah. And she moved into Covent Garden in 1979, and as a student I was studying ballet in London, and being a ballet dancer student, you always needed work, you always needed money, so it was the perfect place to have a part-time job. And that job lasted many years as I was a struggling ballet dancer trying to find work. And then eventually Michael decided to move her shop to the countryside, where it's still going strong, I might say 50 years later, in Northleach. And so I decided to take over the shop in Covent Garden with a friend, and we ran the shop there from 1995 to about 2004, which is when, I'm sure you'll understand, the expenses of running a shop in the centre of town is very high. So we ended up having to close the shop, and I'd been talking to Caroline Hamilton, who ran the London Festival, Doll's House Festival, and she'd started the festival in 1985, and one thing led to another, and I ended up taking over the show from her. So it was all very much being in the right place at the right time, and it was just very organic, going from one thing to another.
Yeah, but I'm sure having the shop was a good sort of learning ground for
Yes.
taking on the show and the types of vendors and artists that participate in that festival, right?
Yes, I knew a lot of them from the shop, and I visited the festival as a buyer to the
Oh,
show in Kensington. So I would buy a lot of stuff for the shop from the festival. So I did know a lot of the makers before taking over the show. And obviously the shop in Covent Garden, we had the same standards. We wanted the best miniatures in the shop, which is the same at the festival. We want the best makers to be represented at the show.
yeah, and we're gonna get to that, like the whole
Mm.
feeling and flavor of the festival, and but so that has it's the perfect ground. It's the first perfect groundwork, and plus the fact that you already knew a lot of these artists probably helped you coming into that role because there is a relationship between the show promoters and the artists. There's a trust that has to be built up. Talk a little bit about some of that. What the challenges of putting a show like that together are. But let's first take one step back, just to talk about. We're talking about a festival of miniature. In case people don't know what a Doll's House Festival is, talk a little bit about that, and then talk about what are some of the challenges putting together a show like that is.
Well, I suppose festival is quite a good word for what our show is about. It's about trying to incorporate everything that is great about miniatures and dolls houses, and we don't want to exclude anyone. So we make sure we have the very best makers. That's our aim. We have about 175 exhibitors who come from all over the world, and we want to have the best makers and suppliers. So we want people who can come and collect the best pieces. And we want visitors who can come, who want to decorate their own doll's house, so they can come and buy the right wallpapers and DIY products for them to do their own doll's house themselves. And we want to have stands there. So if someone's coming into doll's houses for the first time and they know nothing about it and they turn up at the show and they are amazed by all this incredible work, but maybe they haven't got the money to spend on that. We want to make sure that there are people there, good suppliers who we trust, who have good products that maybe aren't at the top end price range, but are things that so everyone that leaves the show can have something that they can take home with them that they can afford. So it's about, and what's fantastic about it is when you're there, and I sometimes will just stand in the queue for the cafe and listen to the conversations. And I think it's so exciting because the visitors to the show can finally be amongst other people who understand what dolls are about and how important they are to their life. So you'll be listening to conversations, people saying, oh, I found the perfect wallpaper for my hall, or I found, oh, this beautiful table that's going to go under the window in my dressing room. And they could be talking about their real house if you didn't know where you were. But it's only when they get to a show like that that they can feel everyone around them understands what it is
Yeah.
that they love.
Yeah, it is a very unique experience to go to a Doll's House show or a miniature show because you are amongst people that you don't have to explain why you're there and what you're doing and what you like. So you just get right into it. Can you talk a little bit about your audience? Is it mostly European based? And it is a global show, both from an
Yeah.
artisan standpoint as well as your visitors. But who would you say is the makeup of the show? Who are visiting?
I would think it's probably maybe about 60 to 70% UK, and the rest will be Europeans, Americans, all over the world, Japan, Australia. People will plan their trips to London to
Yeah.
coincide with the show because they're desperate to come to the show. And we have people from all over the world who will come to every single show. And it's the highlight of their year often.
Yeah, and that ties into the whole the show circuit mentality, which is, there
Yeah.
are certain shows you have to hit, and definitely London is one of them, and it's on my bucket list. I haven't been, but I have to get there. It's on my list. But you actually have 4 shows every year that you do. Can you talk a little bit about what the time periods are for the show?
Yeah, well, we have 3 live shows. So the main show originally was in May, in the middle of May, and that's was started in 1985. So that's our kind of, I still see that as our main show. When I took over in 2004, a few years later, I introduced a Christmas show, which happens around about the beginning of December. And that has proved absolutely fantastic. People love that show as well. I think it's this kind of start of Christmas, so everyone's very excited. And then we introduced a very small kind of more, we call it our catch-all show, the Little Sister. So it's after Christmas, it's around about the beginning of February, and that's at a different venue on the other side of London, right by Tower Bridge. It's called the City of London Show, and you have these views over Tower Bridge. You're right next to the Thames. That's outside the window. So that's a really different atmosphere. It's much more laid back. It's kind of much more, the makers have more time to chat with people. It's a really different atmosphere. And then during COVID, obviously, we've not been having any shows. So we've now started online shows, which have been taking over we've been hosting them at the time that the live shows would have been. And they've been so amazingly popular that we've decided we're going to add one of those into our calendar as well every year, which will be around in the autumn at around the beginning of September.
It's awesome. So what would you say,
Yeah,
pick one of the shows to come to? Would you say it is the holiday Christmas time to book that one?
I think, well, the May show has always been the kind of main show, and it's a 2-day show, whereas the Christmas show at the moment is a 1-day show. So I know it's hectic, so it's full on.
You can't do it all in one day. Well, actually, that just actually raises the point I wanted to make about how social this is as an event. It's not only fulfilling to go as a miniaturist and go and shop and meet the artists and to buy miniatures, but it's a social event that connects people with like interests. And I don't think, you can't really quantify how valuable that is and how exciting that is when you go to a show and you see people you might only see at the shows. But yeah, there is a big social aspect to it that's so vital, that makes it so important. So we did have some questions offline that some folks had asked. And by the way, guys, if you have any questions, please feel free to use the chat box. It's open for questions. So this actually came in on email. And the question is, in your years as an organizer of the show, how would you describe changing trends in the miniatures world? Would you say that full-scale fashion and new technologies directly influence makers and collectors? This is a great question.
It is.
Yeah. So talk.
So I mean, definitely, of course, there are trends. And I think even from America to the UK to Europe, there are different trends happening all the time. The English trend has, the tradition of a doll's house is very much a Victorian house or a Georgian house, and that's pretty much there all the time. But there are trends going on alongside that. And I think definitely fashion, what is happening in interior design in the real world affects what people are doing. So we get lots of, at the moment, kind of vintage look, a little bit shabby chic-y kind of look. And the other thing that affects people and what they do is TV shows and films. I don't know whether you have this in America, but we had Harry Potter crazy for years. So you'd get people doing Dumbledore's office and Hogwarts and, the Weasleys' home. And that moved into sort of more fantasy. And we now have quite a few fantasy makers who make sort of stuff for witches and, spells and all this kind of thing. And that, I think, goes through to Lord of the Rings, and it went through to Game of Thrones, that whole thing. And then, of course, we had Downton Abbey. That was huge. There were lots of miniature Downton Abbeys being made. And I'm sure we'll get Bridgerton now, will be the next one.
So how has trends in the making of miniatures, like say 3D technology, laser printing, how has that impacted the types of artists you see and invite to present? Or and also have you been wowed by what you have seen using these new technologies?
Yeah, I think a lot of people see them as a blessing and a curse, because you get someone who's got a really bad 3D printer and doesn't really know what they're doing, and they produce something that is quite shoddy. But if they have got a good 3D printer and they are they know what they're doing, I will name check Alison Davies, who was probably the first maker in the UK who really embraced 3D printing. And you know, it's difficult because you kind of think, well, is it a cheat? Is this cheating what they're doing? You know, they're not going through carving the piece of furniture or making the piece of furniture, it's just being printed. But I think what she's done is absolutely incredible. The stuff she produces is so beautiful that I think you have to, you know, you have to acknowledge there is a place definitely in the world, you know, the world for that. You don't want to lose the people who are doing it all by hand and are carving it, but I think it's just another tool that can be used. And the same with laser printing, laser cutting. I think there are some great things that have come out of that, but you just have to be careful that it doesn't flood the market. I think that's the problem. You don't want everything to be produced by these methods.
Yeah. And I mean, I think at the end of the day, you're always going to have the traditional and you're going to have the new, and they might be battling out. But I think with miniatures, at the end of the day, if you make a piece and you don't tell anybody how it was made, and you ask them how they feel before you tell them how they were made, and if they feel something and feel good about it, you have done your job. It's once you put those you know, those expectations out there. Oh, that was made of 3D printing, and you pile on all of your preconceived notions about what should be and shouldn't be. You really just go by how you feel. Do you like what you see? So, you know, but I think ultimately we're a little bit stuck. We're not there yet. I don't think the 3D is you know, I don't see a lot of it, but I have hope for it. I really, really do. I have a lot of hope for it. We just have to see a lot more makers making with it and using it and wowing us.
I would say definitely check out Alison Davies, because I think she's the one who's really brought it to a really high level at the moment. I mean, there are probably others, but she's the one that springs to mind for me.
Yeah. Let's see. David has a question. Hi, Charlotte. Do you see the miniatures making industry as a form of art?
Oh, it's always a
wait, there's a question? You're even questioning that? All right, wait. Maybe I should let you finish.
It's a very, very difficult question. I struggle with this one myself. I get asked it quite a lot, Darren, because you can't say that what some people do is not art. But it's difficult because in a way people are copying something.
Okay.
So that, I think that's where people struggle, is if it's, you know, they're copying someone else's thing, even if it's a full scale thing, it's not necessarily an original idea, if that makes sense. But people like David, for example, though, makes the most incredible characters and all sorts of incredible scenes. And I think there's no doubt that that is definitely art. It can't be anything else.
So your point is miniatures can be art.
They can be art.
They can be art.
You know, who cares, actually, in the end? I think who cares? If it, like you said, if it brings you joy and if you love it, who cares if it's art, if it's a craft, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. If it moves you someplace and it makes you feel something, who's to say it isn't art? So, all right. Well, that's interesting. Okay, good. I hear what you're saying. Okay, so another question that came offline was, what's your favorite part of the job that you do? What do you love about what you do?
Gosh.
Darren,
I do everything. So I have a fantastic team who help me at the shows, and anyone who's come to my show or exhibits at my show will know my team because they've been there, some of them since the days of my shop. They've progressed to helping me at the show, and they're fantastic. But the rest of the time, unless I'm really busy or for a particular reason, I'm doing everything. So I'm doing the advertising, I'm doing the ticket sales, I'm doing the contracts, I'm doing the venue hire, everything.
Yeah.
And, you know, some of it I like, some of it maybe not so much.
Right.
But being at the shows is definitely the highlight. So those 4 days a year that I'm actually at the shows are the highlight. And probably the best part of being at the shows is when I have someone who's made an appointment to see me, and they've turned up maybe with their husband or their wife or their daughter, and they've got a little carrier bag, and in that carrier bag they've got a little cardboard box, and they open up that box and they pull out something they've made, and they're always really, really nervous, and they're always, obviously their husband or their wife have said, you've got to show it, it's amazing. And I always have a moment of dread, and I think, God, what if it's terrible? What am I going to say?
Yeah.
But most of the time I am amazed by what I see, and it will be something totally new.
Yeah.
And you just cannot, you know, that is definitely the best part, is finding a new maker who no one has seen before, and you can then have them at the show, at the next show.
Yeah. When I think about this category of hobby, if you will, you know, there are people in their basements right now who have no idea there's this miniatures world that we're all playing in right now. And they're just doing these amazing things, and no one ever gets to see it until, you know, maybe they pass away and their kids go and find it and say, look at what my dad made. And you're like, oh my God. But there are more of them, I think, than us, because we're so this tiny little, like, niche little category of people and group. But I suspect there are a lot more people out there making awesome things that we just don't know about. So yeah, you can imagine what that's like when someone opens that box and shows you.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic. And I urge anyone who's there at home now, who's one, you know, who's making something, to either come and visit me at the show, or sometimes they'll post me samples, because we always do want to see people's work before we let them exhibit at the show. We have a long waiting list, and we want to make sure we have a good, well-balanced show. So we always need to see samples before.
Yeah. So we did get another question, which is, talk a little bit about the shows, the differences in the shows between do you go to the shows in the US? And what are some of the differences between those shows that we have here versus the one you have there?
Well, I have been to some shows in the US. I've been to Chicago, I've been to Philadelphia, and I've also been to the Paris show. I've been to the Madrid show. I've been to the Milan show. And they're all, you wouldn't believe how different they are. You wouldn't think they'd be different, but they all have, it's very interesting. For example, you go to Italy and you just I mean, the Italian makers are incredible. We have a lot at our show, but as you would imagine from the stylish Italians, there's a lot of fashion being made, lots of beautiful shoes and bags. There's lots of amazing food being made. Right. And that, you know, you can see that's an Italian show. You go there and just looking at the items that are for sale and the makers, you know that that's an Italian show. And I think the same in America. The Americans, you see much more up to date maybe than we are in the UK. You're embracing modern miniatures probably more than we are. Yeah. So I think you go to America and you see some incredible modern and contemporary makers, which are really exciting for me, because that's what I love as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I think they're pushing the envelope on this end in terms of moving things in new ways, contemporized miniatures, modern miniatures. But you're doing some incredible things on your end to encourage miniaturists to make better and better miniatures each year. Talk a little bit about the PIMA Awards and tell me how that came about. Talk a little bit about your participation in it, and how you've actually moved the needle in terms of craftsmanship and masterful miniatures. And then, you know, while you're doing that, I'm gonna pull up on my screen. I've got some videos of some of the miniaturists who have contributed or entered the PIMA Awards. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I've always, you know, since taking over the show, it's something I've always wanted to do, have some kind of event that is kind of really highlighting the quality of work at the show and how high that is. And we have a very, very fantastic collector who comes to our show, Ahmed, and he was always saying to me, what can I do to help? What can we do? What can we do? And we never really could come up with an idea. And then in 2004, no, not 2004, 2014,
Yeah.
he said to me, how about a competition? He said, I'm happy to sponsor it, which he does every year and is incredibly generous, I might add. And so we put together, the two of us together, put together the Perfection in Miniature Awards. And these are for our exhibitors to enter. Oh. And the idea was, Ahmed was really keen to give a reason, because when you're a maker, especially at the top end, you're often working on commission. So you're never creating something new. You're always just making things for someone's collection. So although that's great, sometimes it's nice to have a reason to just actually think, well, I'd really like to have a go at that, but I can't afford to put the time into it, or what's the point of doing that? Maybe no one's going to buy it, you know. So we felt if we could have this competition, which would mean their pieces could then be, all the pieces that are entered are shown in our showcase at the, well, it was the May show, it's now the Christmas show. It gives them a reason to invest that time in making something really, really incredible. And so this has been going now since 2005, and we are just blown away every single year by what is entered. It's absolutely incredible. So this piece you're seeing now is by Victoria Morozova, who's a Russian miniaturist. There aren't that many of them. And she did that beautiful, beautiful cabinet. This is Beth Freeman Kane, who's a well-known South African artist who does a lot of wild sort of nature and animals, normally in a frame. And this is Nicola Mescal, who's an English artist, and she actually won the award last year. She was a runner-up this year.
If you want me to slow this down, let me know.
You could slow it down a little bit. Slow it down, because I want to talk more about
Okay. Okay, keep going.
So Nicola won the award last year. She was first prize, and this year this piece came second. She's an incredible worker. This piece is by Jeremy Smith, who's an English maker who now lives in France. And again, he won the award 3 years ago with a similar piece. These are actually artist mannequin models, but they actually, all the joints move. So it's completely jointed.
What was, okay, wait, I'm sorry, I'm messing up. It's gone already. Go.
That's all right.
Technology. Hold on, everybody.
Look, I've got Beth's thing here. It's the only one I've got in my office still, because I haven't sent it back to her. She's asked me to hold on to it, so I don't know if you can see it.
Yes.
It's so adorable.
It is. It's awesome.
And you see it from the top.
Yes. All right, so I have it playing again. Hold on, it's coming to the third one, which I think is where you were before. This one we spoke of. What was the materials for this?
Which one's this?
This is the giraffe.
Oh, the giraffe. It's made from wood.
Wood. Oh.
So it's like, you know, those little artist mannequins. It's normally a person, and he won with a little person. And this is just, he's got a full-size one in his studio in France, and he's always wanted to, we can't see them.
Okay, hold on. Can you guys see it now?
We can see them now, yeah.
Good, all right. Yeah.
Now, this was one of the joint winners this year by a Belgian miniaturist called Josh Sagi. I think that's the right pronunciation. And it was the most incredible thing you've ever seen. The carving, not only had he carved it, but he'd also hand stitched the embroidery on the seat, and you can see underneath in the mirror the webbing. It was amazing. And what we like to see is a maker who's kind of pushed themselves and done something slightly more. So we knew he was a fantastic carver, but the fact that he embroidered the seat as well, and all along the edge, you can't probably see it, there are tiny little pins where the fabric is nailed in to the seat. It's incredible. It was an amazing piece.
Wow. Okay, so this is all hand carved. It's all hand.
All hand carved and all hand embroidered.
Oh my God, that's really, so this was the winner.
This was
Shared.
this year we were lucky to be able to have 2 winners, and this was one of the winning pieces. And I was really pleased that a piece of furniture won. This, of course, is the other winner. This is by, everyone who comes to my show will know, Lawrence and Angela St. Ledger. And they make the most incredible things. And they won the first ever PIMA award with a Swiss Army knife that was the size of your little fingernail, and it had 7 blades that came out. It was incredible. So they always do very unusual things. Oops. And they had been asked many times for a working umbrella, and
they did it.
They did it, and it took them, I think, both of them working maybe weeks to do it. If you go on our website, actually, there's an article about, with a bit more detail about how they made it.
So is each one of those points soldered?
I think, yeah, I think the rim sort of around the bottom, on where the bottom of the fabric is actually thread. And then the rest is metal, and they had to find the thinnest fabric. That was their big problem, and they ended up using magician's silk.
Oh my!
That magicians use, because it was so thin.
Wow!
And they had to hand stitch all the hem of the umbrella. It's incredible, absolutely amazing.
I don't think people know. I don't think people know. We do have an attendee who is claiming to be the owner of that umbrella. That's awesome.
I think they did, after the competition, they got about 10 orders immediately. So she could well be.
Oh my goodness. Oh, wow. Well, that Tanya is saying when you collapse the umbrella, it actually feels like a real umbrella. My head is just going to explode. I think that's just incredible. That's amazing. Wow.
I think the most amazing thing about it, Darren, is when you push it up, it's the mechanism is so smooth. It doesn't jolt and stick. It just goes out, and then it goes pop with a little thing sticking out to keep it at the top. Amazing.
That would just make my head explode.
Now, this piece was actually for the PIMA Open competition. So we've started doing a competition that anyone can enter. So we have this year, it was furniture. So if you wanted to enter a piece of furniture. So this was the winner of our open competition. And I don't know if there's a video of this, but it shows how it's a writing table, and it has all these different little drawers.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's all marquetry on the front and on the top. It was absolutely beautiful. It was a Spanish guy called Louis, and I can't remember his other name. I'm really sorry. I can't remember his other name, but he was a Spanish maker who I'd never heard of. So he's someone we've discovered with PIMA.
Awesome. It's beautiful. I can see it.
Yeah.
It all pops out. It's one mechanism.
It all pops out. Yeah.
Out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just crazy beautiful.
Yeah.
Right, and then there's this piece.
This piece was 3rd place, and it's by a German lady called Daniela, who you might know as Micro Dolls.
Oh, yes, yes.
So she does a lot of dolls, and she's now kind of progressed into doing this embroidery called stump work, which I don't know a lot about, I'm afraid. But she created this beautiful embroidered box, and that little kind of garden at the top, you can see you flip down the front of the box and it slips in, and it's like hidden little garden in the box. I don't know whether I don't think we showed that in the video.
Yeah, I don't have that one.
Yeah. And this was a highly commended piece. This was by Chris Malcolmson, who's a English maker living in Spain. And again, it was all hand embroidered, marquetry work.
Keep going. Go ahead.
Yeah, marquetry, ormolu. I mean, it was so detailed. It was absolutely beautiful.
So this is Chris Malcolmson?
Yeah. He's quite a well-known English maker, and all his furniture is marquetry. He does incredible marquetry.
Yeah, I've seen him at shows here in the US.
Yeah. Now, this is, I think Nell might be listening to us, because you mentioned Nell was
Keep going. I'll just keep going up.
Nell was watching, but she's quite a new exhibitor to the show, and she's an incredible painter. amazing. But what makes what makes her work extra special is that she puts it in these beautiful packing crates. And so it's all looks like it's all being, you know, she'll sell you a painting and then it gets its own special box that looks like a proper box that you take home with you. And what was very interesting about her entry was she had decided she wanted to embrace modern technology. And she, along with the painting, produced I can't remember the term now, when you go into virtual reality,
Okay.
a virtual reality computer journey that you could go into the painting itself and see the surrounding, you know, London in the 1800s, whenever it was, and you could look around. It was incredible. So you can also view that on our website. You can get the link of the VR site for you to go and see. And she's actually painted, her business is called Corneliuson Gallery, and she's actually added her gallery into the painting. So there's a little gallery shop in the painting.
Oh, that's incredible. That's just incredible.
And this one, another highly commended, is by a lady called Jill Rawlings, who people might know as Petit Fleur. And she has been coming to the show for years and years and years. And she's an incredible flower maker. She makes them out of metal. So they're all metal flowers.
Metal.
And yeah.
It's a new one for me.
Yeah, I hope I'm correct in this, but I'm pretty certain they are.
Metal.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain that's right. And she was meant to be retiring in 2019. And unfortunately, before the summer show, she had an injury, I think a back injury, and she couldn't come to the show. And she said, oh, don't worry, I'll retire next year. And of course, next year, 2020, no show. And so she still hasn't managed to retire yet. But I think this amazing white garden she did,
it's beautiful,
was kind of a retirement piece maybe, but it was absolutely gorgeous, based on a real garden she'd visited at a stately home.
It is. It's beautiful. It's just
that we put the pine cone in just to show you how big it was.
Yeah, got it. And I don't know, can you see this?
Yeah, we can see this. This is Chris's desk again.
Oh, that's another version of Chris's desk. Yeah, the other side.
Yeah, that's showing it open.
I love it. I love it. Right. So you couldn't all meet this year. So they all sent you videos of their work. Is that how?
No, they had to send them to me in the office. Oh. And I then got together the judges at the office. And this was just before we were locked down again. So we managed to get together. Poor Ahmed was stuck in Qatar. So we had him on Zoom, and I'd sent him the videos of all the pieces so he could have a really good look at them. So we were lucky we found a window where we were able to judge them and look at them all, because you have to see them in reality. You can't judge them easily from photos.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to have it run just again while we chat so people can have another look at what it is. But all of these are not on your website, but the winners are.
The winner, actually, all the entries are listed. If you go to the competition page on the website, is a gallery of every entry. Okay. And then I'm starting to do more detailed articles about each of the winners and the highly commended pieces. So there are a couple up there already.
So would you say, I mean, has there been a competition like that before? I don't think so. Not at this level.
Not that I know of.
Not this, because we have the Masterworks exhibition here in the US, and it happens every few years, and that really just started. But this has been going on for a while now. So you kind of have a groove, there's kind of an expectation, and that people are waiting for it. Like, what's the new work that's happening? And you also brought up the point where you're looking for artists to actually stretch themselves. So it's not just do your best work, because we know you already do great work. How can you do better? Which I think really helps to push the entire industry.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, the St. Ledger with the umbrella and the penknife, you know, it sums up the competition, because maybe they wouldn't have done those things if the competition hadn't been running. You know, why would they have spent hours trying to make a penknife smaller than your fingernail, you know? And I think that's what's great about it. And I think the judges, so we have Ahmed obviously judging it. We have Caroline Hamilton, who was the original lady who started the show, and we have Madelva from Spain, who's another judge, and then we always have one other judge, a random person that I select, and they're all very knowledgeable, and a lot of them will know the makers, and one thing they will look for is they will say, well, that's a great miniature, but actually he's not done anything different. So the ones that really try and do something different definitely get plus points.
But that also ties into why people go to shows. You know, they do want to see something different. They want to see what the artists are doing that's new, what's exciting, what's new. I mean, I know when I go to shows, that's the first thing I look for. I'm like, what's different? What's happening here? I can't wait to see. So it all ties in really, really nicely together. But I think it's an amazing what you're doing for the miniatures world, how you're supporting and encouraging the master work that's happening out there. We did have a question about price points. Do you want to talk about the price points of some of these pieces? I mean,
yeah, well,
folks.
I think what you need to do is go to the website, our website, go to the competitions page, and actually the prices are, because everything has to be for sale. We say we don't want you to enter something that's not for sale, because it could be something from your collection from 5 years ago. It could be a commission piece. We want something new. So it has to be for sale. That's one of the rules of the competition. So all the pieces are for sale. I must say a lot of them are now sold, but the prices will be up there, and it will give you an idea of what we're talking about.
Right. Awesome. Super. Does anybody have any other questions as we sort of wind down our time with Charlotte? So what do you see? What do you see now? Okay, coming out of this, you know, hopefully we're going to be out of COVID this year. And so what do you see happening what do you see that's happening in the miniatures world now that you're sort of excited about? Have you seen sort of a resurgence that we're seeing here in the US? What's happening there?
Definitely. And I think it will be the same as the US, because we've all become so online savvy now. So everything is very global. But I think you'll agree that I know you had Scarlett on a few weeks ago, and she, if no one has followed Scarlett, she has a huge TikTok following. And she has been doing up her full-size house, and while she's been doing up her full-size house, she's been doing up a doll's house and making the things for the doll's house. And what has been really exciting over lockdown is that I think a younger generation, I think TikTok has been huge in getting the younger generation interested in miniatures, and they've started doing all sorts of things. And it's, you know, I don't think, you know, I have all these amazing entries in the PIMA competition, but miniatures don't have to be perfect. Sometimes things aren't perfect. Some of the exhibitors at my show, they don't make things that are perfect, but what they do is they make things that we absolutely just look at and love. We don't know why, but they're just gorgeous. And I think what they're doing now is they are just having a go. They're trying to make things, and they're trying to find ways of doing things. And that's what's exciting now. I think we've finally got a new audience for miniatures, and I hope they are going to turn into some incredible makers in the future.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think there's a lot of energy happening on social media. COVID has a lot to do with driving happening in the miniatures world. And I think it's going to be those younger people who are going to push the envelope and bring new things to our world, what we're seeing today. And I think we do have to expand our frame of reference of what we know as miniatures. And it's crazy exciting. And I agree. It's a lot of it is happening on TikTok, and it's only just starting on TikTok, by the way, but it's happening. There is excitement there. So I totally, encourage you guys to go check out, miniatures TikTok, because it's a crazy world. It's a crazy.
And I think, sorry,
No,
I think what they're doing as well is they are kind of copying the world around them. So it's a much more contemporary way of looking at miniatures. You know, it's what they see, you know, when they're, in their house or in the grocery store. You know how these miniature copies of groceries are just huge, aren't they, at the moment, for children to play with?
huge.
So I think it's much more about, and that's originally what dolls houses are about, you know, representing where we live today, really. And I think that's come back a bit this year.
Yeah, for me personally, I'm all about fine miniatures, right? Handcrafted fine miniatures. But what I'm excited about is we have this whole new audience emerging, and there will be a certain percentage of them, and I'm being selfish about this, that will become those fine miniaturists that we'll be seeing
definitely
at the shows later on. But it's just exciting to see them enter, and it's going to be exciting to watch them grow and see what they do. It's just, I think this is a great time to be involved in the miniatures world, for sure. And you probably know this well, that this is cyclical. This category is cyclical. It comes and it goes. So I don't think it's a big surprise. We're in a cycle now where it is coming back in a big way. I don't know if you would agree. Yeah,
totally. I think it's I see miniatures started in the UK, this
ramp.
Miniatures, about 50 years ago, when Michael opened her first shop.
Right.
And there's makers who are making then who are still exhibiting at the show, but obviously they're coming to the end of their career.
Right.
And people keep saying to me, what are we going to do when these people have gone? And I say, well, it's fine, because we're never going to get anyone who can replace their work, because it's unique, and you're never going to get someone replicating their work. But you're going to get some, we have so many new exciting makers coming up who are incredible and are doing something different.
Yeah. And I think that that group needs to be nurtured in some way. I don't know if there's anybody calling them out and saying, hey, do you know this whole miniatures world exists? Come on over. So, and I that's part of what I like to do. So I'm invested. I'm totally invested and on board. But this has been awesome and fascinating and fabulous and great. Let's take one more question. Lola wants to know, have you had any celebrities visit the shows?
Oh, well, we do. We have it. We do have a few. We had great excitement when Helena Bonham Carter was at the show a few years ago. She's I think was doing it with her children. And we've had Kate Beckinsale at the show with her mum. So we've had a few. We do have a few sort of appearing. I'm sure the same in America. I'm sure you've got some big stars that are into miniatures.
Not enough. We need more celebrity miniatures. So can you just tell folks one more time how to find you? What is your web address?
Yeah, our web address is dollhouseshowcase.com. dollhouseshowcase.com.
And it's dolls, DOLLS, the UK way, as opposed to here. But this has been awesome. Thank you so much for spending time with us and chatting with us about the show circuit and the work you do. And thank you for bringing the PIMA show to the world and stretching the artistry that's happening out there. It's been awesome. And
thank you.
Yeah, thank you for spending this time with us. And thank you, everybody out there, for spending this time with us on this Sunday. Everybody, have a great rest of your day and have a great night, Charlotte. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Darren. Thank you.